The journey from Tokyo to Hiroshima took us 4 hours by Shinkansen. Very emotional experience. Before we went to Hiroshima, we read some feedback on the internet about Hiroshima, like about every place we visited. Some people said, there is nothing. For typical tourists, yes, it can be boring. If you compare Hiroshima with Pearl Harbor, for example, which I can, we've been there twice, you can say there is nothing in Hiroshima. Pearl Harbor is also a very emotional experience, but in total different way than Hiroshima. Americans take it very commercially. They try to attract as many tourists as possible. Whilst Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park is, as mentioned, a very peaceful place, where you have time to absorb the atmosphere of the tragedy which happened on 6th of August 1945. There are just few tourists, no souvenirs, no admission fee. But peace and time to realize we live in good and peaceful days. Hiroshima is notable for its light rail system, which is nicknamed Hiroten, or the Moving Streetcar Museum. Streetcars and light rail vehicles that survived the atomic explosion still run on the streets of Hiroshima. Hiroshima bought some streetcars at a discounted price from Kyoto and Fukuoka, and by 2011 the city had 298 streetcars, more than any other city in Japan. Hiroshima, the capital of Hiroshima Prefecture and the largest city in the Chugoku region of western Honshu, the largest island of Japan with an estimated population of about 2 million. The region where Hiroshima stands today was originally a small fishing village. From the 12th century, the village was economically associated with the Zen Buddhist temple Mitaki-ji. The beginnings of Hiroshima date back to the end of the 16th century, when the city was founded by the powerful warlord Mori Terumoto. During the great reforms of the Meiji era in the 19th century, Hiroshima quickly became a major industrial center and in 1888 gained official city status. The city was a center of military activities during the imperial era, playing significant roles such as in the First Sino-Japanese War, the Russo-Japanese War, and the two World Wars. During World War II, the 2nd General Army and Chugoku Regional Army was headquartered in Hiroshima, and the Army Marine headquarters was located at Ujina Port. The city also had large depots of military supplies and was a key center for shipping. The bombing of Tokyo and other cities in Japan has caused whispered destruction and hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths. There were no such air raids on Hiroshima. However, the real threat existed. Hiroshima is best remembered as the first city targeted by a nuclear weapon when the United States Army Air Force dropped the atomic bomb Little Boy on the city from the American Boeing B-29 Superfortress Enola Gay piloted by Colonel Paul Warfield Tibbets Jr. It happened on 6th of August 1945 at 8:15 in the morning. 70,000 people were killed, including thousands of Korean slaves. Less than 10% of the victims were military. By the end of the year, 90 to 166,000 people had died due to injuries and radiation. About 70% of the buildings in the city were destroyed, and another 7% severely damaged. It was forbidden to publish film footage of the consequences of the dropping the atomic bomb on the city during the occupation of Japan. This censorship ended after signing of the Treaty of San Francisco in 1951, which returned control to the Japanese. On 17th of September 1945, the extremely strong typhoon Makurazaki hit Hiroshima. Yes, just 11 days after the atomic bomb was dropped. Hiroshima Prefecture has claimed more than 3,000 deaths, about half of the total losses caused by the typhoon. More than half of the bridges in the city were destroyed and the roads and railways were damaged. Hiroshima was rebuilt after the war with help from the national government through the Hiroshima Peace Memorial City Construction Law passed in 1949. It provided financial assistance for reconstruction, along with land that was previously owned by the national government and used by the imperial military. In the same year, Hiroshima was proclaimed as a city of peace by the Japanese parliament and the initiative of its mayor, Shinzo Hami. Hiroshima is making an effort to eliminate nuclear weapons completely. On 27th of May 2016, Barack Obama became the first US president to visit Hiroshima since the atomic bombing. The location of Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park was once the city's busiest downtown commercial and residential district. After the explosion, it was just large open space. This place attracts more than 1 million visitors a year. The annual 6th of August Peace Memorial Ceremony, which is sponsored by the city of Hiroshima, is also held in the park. Gates of Peace. This monument was added in 2005 and contains 10 gates covered with the word peace in 49 languages from around the world. The gates represent 9 circles of hell, plus 1, the living hell of Hiroshima caused by the atomic bombing. Each gate is 9 meters high and 2.6 meters wide. This monument covers a cenotaph with the names of all the people killed by the bomb. The cenotaph was one of the first memorial monuments built on open field on 6th of August 1952. The monument is aligned to frame the peace flame and the A-bomb dome. The arch shape represents a shelter for the souls of the victims. In Japanese, the sentence's subject is omitted that it could be interpreted as either "we shall not repeat the error" or as "they shall not repeat the error." This was intended to memorialize the victims of Hiroshima without politicizing the issue, taking advantage of the fact that polite Japanese speech typically demands lexical ambiguity in the first place. The epitaph was written by Tadayoshi Saika, professor of English literature, who provided the English translation, which says, "Let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil." In 1983, an explanation plaque in English was added in order to convey Professor Saika's intent that "we" refers to all humanity, not especially the Japanese or Americans, and that the error is the evil of war. The pond was designed in 1957 to surround the cenotaph, and it looks like it is floating on the water. The Flame of Peace is another monument to the victims of the bomb. However, it also has another symbolic purpose. The flame has burned since it was lit in 1964 and will remain lit until all nuclear bombs on the planet are destroyed, ending the threat of nuclear destructions. Hiroshima National Peace Memorial Hall. It was opened for the victims of the atomic bomb in August 2002. It contains various materials, such as photographs and memories of the tragedy and life after it. Occasionally, there are readings of poems and memories of the bombing. It offers an opportunity to pay tribute to the victims and to reflect on the causes of the disaster that people have caused to people. The Children's Peace Memorial is here to commemorate Sadako Sasaki and thousands of other child victims of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Sadako was a young girl who was 2 years old at the time of the blast and died of leukemia from radiation at the age of 12. After her death, friends and classmates published a collection of letters to raise funds to build a memorial. Sadako became a symbol of the catastrophic consequences of nuclear war. In the center of the monument is a statue called Atomic Bomb Children, unveiled on 5th of May 1958 on the Japanese Children's Day holiday. At the base of the monument is a black marble slab on which is inscribed in Japanese, "This is our cry, this is our prayer for building peace in the world." The figures that surround the monument are angels, representing that Sadako is in heaven among the other fallen angels who died during the atomic bombing in Hiroshima. Beneath the main structure hangs a bronze crane that works as a wind chime when pushing against a traditional peace bell from which it is suspended. The two pieces were donated by Nobel Prize winner Hideki Yukawa. The Japanese tradition says that if you create 1,000 cranes, you get one wish. Sadako's wish was to have a world without nuclear weapons. There are therefore thousands of cranes from all over the world around the monument. Anyone who adds their crane here desires a world without a nuclear war. This mound contains the ashes of roughly 70,000 victims of unknown identity, people for whom no one has shown interest so far for various reasons. For example, because the whole family died in the explosion of a nuclear bomb. The Peace Bell was built out on 20 of September 1964. The surface of the bell is a map of the world, and the sweet spot is an atomic symbol designed by Masahiko Katori. The inscriptions on the bell are in Greek, Japanese, and Sanskrit, and translated as "Know Yourself." The bell was donated to the park by Greek embassy and picked out the most appropriate ancient Greek philosophical quote of Socrates. Visitors are encouraged to ring the bell for world peace. Hiroshima Peace Memorial. The building was originally used for art educational exhibitions. Today, it commemorates the disaster in which more than 140,000 people died. On 25th of July, General Carl Spaatz, commander of the United States Strategic Air Force in the Pacific, received orders to deliver a special bomb attack on selected city in Japan. The first target was Hiroshima as an important port and headquarters of the Japanese Second General Army with 40,000 military personnel. The bomb was assembled in secret and loaded on the Enola Gay, possessed a force equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. Within 43 seconds of being dropped, it detonated over the city, missing its target by 240 meters. Instead of destroying the Ioi Bridge, it exploded directly over the Shima Hospital, which was very near to what is known today as the Atomic Dome. Shima Hospital was rebuilt after the war. Because the explosion was almost directly overhead, the building was able to retain its shape. The vertical columns of the building were able to resist the nearly vertical downward force of the blast, and parts of the concrete and brick outer walls remained intact. The center of the blast occurred 150 meters horizontally and 600 meters vertically from the dome. Everyone inside the building was killed instantly. The building probably didn't collapse due to the earthquake-resistant construction designed by the Czech architect Jan Letzel. It is a building closest to the hypocenter of the nuclear bomb that remains at least partially standing. Due to the exposed metal dome framework and its apex, the structure was scheduled to be demolished with the rest of the ruins, but the majority of the building was intact, delaying the demolition plans. The dome became a subject of controversy, with some locals wanting it torn down, while others wanted to preserve it as a memorial of the bombing and a symbol of peace. From 1950 to 1964, the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park was established around the dome, and 2 years later the City Council adopted a resolution on the Parliament on the permanent preservation of the building, officially as the Hiroshima Peace Memorial. Changes to the ruins meant to ensure the stability of the structure have been minimal. The Genbaku Dome stands almost exactly as it did after the bombing on 6th of August 1945. In December 1996, this monument was registered on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Two countries objected to this. China argued that this could suppress the fact that victims of the Japanese aggression in other countries suffered the greatest loss of life during World War II. And the United States stated that the presence of a memorial in the war site would omit the necessary historical context. The United States dissociated itself from the decision. Memorial Tower to the mobilized students. To make up for the labor shortage, in August 1944, the government legally allowed children aged 11 to 14 to work. For example, children worked in munition factories. Later, students were required to participate in the demolition of buildings. In Hiroshima, of the approximately 8,400 students, about 6,300 died on the day of the bombing. Most of the students working in various industries around the city were also killed. After the war, the government recognized as victims of the war only students killed in atomic bombing or airstrikes, whose names and dates of deaths are known and preserved in the Yasukuni Shrine. In response, the surviving families began a movement to create a list of the dead and donated funds to build the tower. Redbird Monument is a literary monument in honor of the works of Miekichi Suzuki, who elevated Japanese traditional and children's stories into literature. A quotation from Miekichi in his handwriting is inscribed on the right monument and reads, "I will forever dream, simply as I did in my boyhood, and therefore suffer only a little." The Peace Clock Tower was completed on 28th of October 1967. It is made of 3 iron pillars, each twisted by 60 degrees. At a height of 20 meters is a spherical clock with a diameter of 2 meters facing 3 directions. The sphere represents all the people of the world, and pillars are the hands of the people of Hiroshima, a city of peace, united in deep prayer and hope for endless peace, overcoming difficulties. The clock rings every day at 8:15, the time when mankind received its baptism of the atomic bomb for the first time, calls out to the world for no more Hiroshima.